Okay, so we have this little tiny this little oval right here with a line in it. This is called theta. And theta is our designated angle. I tried to look up a symbol for designated and nothing good came up. So designated angle, like that's the one we're working with. So wherever theta is, we're just going to draw an arc like this. That's our designated angle. Then from that designated angle, we're going to label our sides. So from this angle, the side opposite it is called the opposite side. Opposite. Then for this triangle, this side right here, the longest side that's across from the 90-degree angle is called the hypotenuse, which I'm sure you know at this point, but this is the hypotenuse. And then the side right here next to theta is called the adjacent side. The word adjacent means like right next to. Notice how technically the hypotenuse and the adjacent side are next to theta. So it's important to label the hypotenuse first, and then whatever's left over is the adjacent side. So far, so good. Okay. Then next, oh, I don't forget. Okay, next we're going to go down here. It says complete the following based off of the corresponding triangles below. So we're going to do one together, and then I'm going to have you try one. So for this, we have our theta right here. So we're going to draw an arc. And it says which side is the hypotenuse, which leg is opposite to theta, and which leg is adjacent. So from theta, we have our opposite side. Then here, the longest side, the one across from the 90-degree angle, is the hypotenuse. And then the one left over is the adjacent side. I don't know why I switched those colors. Okay, so which side is the hypotenuse? It would be segment AC. Which leg is opposite theta? It would be BC. And then which leg is adjacent to theta? It would be BA. Okay, so now I'm going to have you try it right here. And I'm going to go around and make sure every person is getting this right. What I want you to do is just like we did here, label your sides. So you're going to make an arc at theta, then label your sides opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent, and then you're going to identify those sides here by like the letters. So I'm going to freeze it. So going forward, we're going to abbreviate these so we don't have to write them out every time. So instead of hypotenuse, we're going to just write H. And instead of opposite, we're just going to use O. And for adjacent, we're just going to use A. So that'll make the process quicker. Okay, then when you got that, we're going to flip to the next side. Okay, trigonometry, and now we have some new words: sine, cosine, tangent. Those words on the calculator are abbreviated. So on your calculator, you have sin, cos, tan. Those are just abbreviations for sine, cosine, tangent. So here, sine will be abbreviated sin when we use the calculator. We're not using the calculator today, but when we get there, and cosine, C-O-S, and then tangent is abbreviated T-A-N. Okay, and sine is the ratio of the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, great. But how are we ever going to remember that? There are ways. So one way would be on the EOC reference sheet. You have the EOC reference sheet on the back with all the formulas for everything. On the bottom, it says trigonometric ratios, and it has sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine of theta adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent opposite over adjacent. So you could use this. There is another way that has been around since, I don't know how long, but a long time. Like your parents will remember this. If you go home and say this word, they will remember this. It is called SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Okay, and what this word means or how it's useful is it has all these trig ratios. So if you can remember this word, SOHCAHTOA, and how to spell it, because some people on the test will be like, how do you spell that word again? So remember how to spell it. Sine of theta equals OH, in that order, opposite over hypotenuse. Again, opposite over hypotenuse, same thing. And for cosine, cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent of theta is, in that order, O over A. So if you can remember SOHCAHTOA, then you'll always have these ratios like in your back pocket when you need them. And to this day, if I'm doing these problems, I'm writing SOHCAHTOA on my paper. Like I don't have this memorized, I just have this memorized. And then you can just use it as a tool. Okay, so how does this thing work? How do we use these ratios? Well, first step is what we did on the other page. We are going to label our sides. So we have theta here. You make an arc at theta. That's your designated angle. Then from there, you're going to label your side. So opposite theta is going to be your opposite side. You label it with an O. You have your hypotenuse, the longest side that's across from the 90-degree angle, hypotenuse. And then the leftover one is just your adjacent. And so we're going to use these numbers to set up the ratio. So sine of theta is O over H. Again, O over H. So now we have it labeled. It's just 3 over 5. We just take the number 3 over 5. That. Cosine of theta is A over H. A over H, so 4 over 5. And OA would be 3 over 4. And that's it. That's how you do it. So we're going to continue practicing it here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do one with you here, and then I'll have you do one on your own right here. So it says, write each ratio as a fraction in simplest form. And it has theta here. So first thing we do, draw an arc at theta. That's our designated angle. Then label your sides. So from this, we have our opposite side. This is our hypotenuse, the longest side, across from the 90, and then adjacent. And now that we have it labeled, we can just like plug it into the ratio. So sine of theta O over H, so be 5 over 10. Cosine of theta A over H, 8 over 10. And O over 8, 5 over 8. The problem does say to write the ratio as a fraction in simplest form. So sometimes we do have to simplify the fraction. So I notice with 5 and 10, I can divide both of those by 5. And I get 1/2. And then for 8 out of 10, divide both of those by 2. And I get 4 over 5. And then 5/8 is already in simplest form. Okay, so for this one, just like we did before, I want you to try it. You try. So first step is going to be make an arc at theta, label your sides. Maybe I should write this down. Make arc at theta. 2. Label sides. you would go in this order: opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Then make the ratios. Breathing this so that you can apply it. Okay, you guys are good to go. So we're gonna move on to the next one. It's the same thing. We're not like adding anything. It's just for this one, you'll see what we're going to do first is we're gonna write down SOHCAHTOA. Because for this one, they didn't write sine as O over H or anything like that. So we have to do that ourselves. SOHCAHTOA. And then also notice that there is no theta anywhere to be found. So they told us sine of A, cosine of C. The letter is your designated angle. So we're going to do all the ones that are A first. And so for angle A, and I'm using a pencil because I'm going to need to erase when I go to do C. So for A, what I do is I make an arc at A, just like we did with theta. And then from this arc, I label my side. So opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. And then using SOHCAHTOA, so sine is O over H, cosine A over H, and tangent is O over A. And I just use this. And then I can put my numbers together. So OH be 16 over 20. AH 12 over 20. And tangent OA 16 over 12. Says remember to simplify. So once I have the ratios, like these are right, but to simplify, I'm going to just divide by 4, and I get 4 over 5. Divide by 4, I get 3 over 5, and 4 over 3. Yes. Yeah. Well, just for right now, just simplify when it says to simplify. Eventually, when we plug stuff in the calculator, it won't matter whether it's simplified, but we're not there yet. And often on testing, there are questions where they just want you to do the ratio without the calculator. So just, yeah, that's how you do it. Okay. Next, for the ones that are of angle C, we're going to do these 3. And so now our arc is going to be on C and not A. So I'm going to erase all this and like relabel my triangle. So for C, now I'm going to put my arc on C, and that's going to change the sides a little bit. So from C, now this is my opposite. This is still hypotenuse, and then this would be adjacent now. So cosine is A over H, tangent O over A, and sine is O over H. And I just pulled it right from here, and then I can do my ratios. So 16 over 20, O over A, 12 over 16, O over H, 12 over 20. And then simplify, divide by 4, I get 4/5. Divide by 4, I get 3/4. And then I get 3 over 5 here. That's that. How do you feel? Good? Easy? Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so what we're going to do now, so there's no Schoology homework. However, we're still going to practice this. I have a worksheet for you, and I'm going to start it with you. So I'm going to pass this out, and I need you to put your name on it, and then write down SOHCAHTOA big at the top, and I will start it with you in a second.